Thanks for joining us, everyone. We're excited that Aaron has volunteered to answer questions, talk about whatever it is you guys want him to talk about. So I'm not going to take much more time. I'm going to go back to my chair and moderate questions. But if you have a question, just unmute. And it'd be awesome to see your faces.
Yes, I want to see
We
who we're
would love
talking
to see your faces because obviously we're all on one couch in a hotel room. Like
Nothing
the
weird
bar is
about
low here.
that.
Okay.
The bar's low.
The bar is low. We're all snuggled on a couch in one hotel
Eric
room.
already said we look horrible. So.
We do look tired. We do look tired. We are tired.
Nobody knows.
And today was a long day.
It was
Y'all
a
did
long day.
amazing. Y'all did. Y'all talked to a bunch of teachers, and that's hard to do.
Yes.
Yep.
Teachers make bad students. I'm just saying.
Some of
Teachers
them.
make that. They do. They like to get ahead, don't they?
Oh, show.
All right. Well, we're going to start it off. So we want to know what you want to know. And I'm going to head back over there. So thanks for joining us. Do you want my mic?
No.
Okay.
You may have questions over there.
You may have
Okay,
to
get over
read
there.
something that we want to hear you read.
That's right.
Okay.
Hopefully. Yes.
Have I mentioned that I don't like this couch?
Well, my feet are like 13 inches off the floor when I sit back on that couch. So
Aaron, I think people want to know the hard-hitting questions.
Well, that's great. They can ask them.
Well, they sent me a list.
You're not allowed.
I have a list.
I really need y'all to seriously be a part of this because Janie wants to ask me questions and no.
Rusty, what's your question? Your hand's up.
Okay, I had to unmute that. I had to figure that out. Hello, guys. It's good to see you. What was your biggest struggle when you started out starting your business in the first shop that you had?
Oh, wow. You
So,
went hard hitting right
yeah,
there.
so when asking that, are you meaning like doing custom work or with Baker's Leather Supply?
No, with the custom work stuff.
So anybody that does custom work, I know that they all will agree with me. The hardest part of custom work is customers. Just, you'd have folks come in and they'd be like, oh, I love your work and I trust your artistic design and process. Here's my basic guidelines. You run with it from there and you do exactly what they say. And then next thing you know, they come to pick up their item. They're like, well, this isn't what I had in mind. Well, then if you had something in mind, why didn't you tell me what it was?
Yeah.
So we had a lot of that. Honestly, that exact type scenario is the reason I quit doing custom work. I nearly threw a guy through a glass window in my shop. He ordered a holster. He had his little Korean fella, and he had this little Korean like red devil face thing that he wanted tattooed on a holster. Not tattooed, but like tooled. Sorry, on a holster. You want the face to be red, the holster to be black. The holster needed to hold whichever firearm it was, Yeah, and I made it to his exact specifications. Like it was a great holster. There was nothing in the world wrong with it. And he comes to pick it up, and he was like, "Oh, that's not what I was thinking." And I'm like, "It's literally what's written on this form here that you signed and I signed, and we're within the timeline. Like I don't under." He's like, well, I just thought it would be different. And I'm like, well, different how? This is your description, And then I don't know why he decided to say it the way he did, but he said, well, I expected more of you as a man.
Oh.
And and okay, I'm 10 years softer now than I was then. I was pretty recently retired out of the military and I was about ready to throw him through a window. But I let him know that the door was about 10 feet behind him. And if he didn't beat me to that door, that I would lock him inside the building. And so he promptly left.
But you've had many shops, not just killing. Like you've had many custom shops.
I had, before that, when I first retired out of the Army, I was still up in Leavenworth, Kansas. And that was my first like custom shop. And honestly, things were pretty good up there. I really had a good name for myself up there. I'd gotten quite the following with leatherworking, especially holster making. Mm-hmm. And I don't really recall to having too many issues up there because a lot of the people knew me well enough. It was once I'd moved the shop and people weren't really that familiar with me other than what they maybe seen on social media or whatever. And
well, us Kansans are pretty good, so
yeah. Then there's that.
And then
I
there's
mean,
that.
I had no complaints about Kansas until the wintertime came.
yeah,
So
agreed.
I have a question, Aaron, to kind of
Mhm.
go along with that though, because I know doing custom work is kind of a pain. We used
Mhm.
to do a lot of it too at Burns, and we kind of have moved away from it as much as possible and do it on occasion, but it's pretty rare, and we have some
and
pretty
limited. Yeah.
it's very limited, and we have and we've kind of set some boundaries.
Yeah.
There are things we will do. There are things we absolutely will not do.
Yeah.
And we've gotten better at just communicating that. But also, I mean, tell me, because I think, there's the custom work aspect, but also there's the making of the money doing custom work. And
Yeah.
custom work typically takes exceptionally longer. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So custom work, everything is one off. And so you don't ever get fast or good or get a good system down for anything. Because today I'll be making a holster, tomorrow I'll be making a briefcase, the next day I'll be making something else. And it really, no one wants to pay you for design time. And when you're doing true custom work, 90% of your time is spent on designing. And yeah, I mean,
what was your wait times?
I always told everybody it was going to be 2 months. And generally, I had it out much faster than that. But I always was like, hey, give yourself plenty of time. And if you get to surprise them with something faster, then they're happier and they're excited to come get it. But yeah, that's the hardest thing with custom work. And then I met a fella. I wish I could remember his name because I know he's somebody in the industry and he makes some very high end items for some very high end clients. He sells a lot of his stuff at the George Bush Library here in Texas. Clint something or other.
Wilkinson?
Yes.
Yep.
Clint Wilkinson. He was making a lot of like briefcase type things. And he told me, because we were having pretty much that exact same conversation. And he said, well, I make these cases and basically I have production pieces to them and you can mix and match this handle with that pocket with that gusset. And he's like, and therefore they're getting their custom thing, but I'm not redesigning and reinventing the wheel with every single project. And I was like, man, that is way smarter than what I've been doing.
Yeah.
But I also had never, even though I made mostly holsters, I'd never had like a complete niche that, okay, this is what I make.
Well, didn't you say that when you give customers too many options?
Yes.
That, you need to narrow down their option list.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. I mean,
I can do anything.
Yeah. Like we had a woman come into our shop a couple of years ago and she was making biker vests and her husband was in a pretty serious organization for motorcycles. And I mean, if they told her they wanted it to shoot an umbrella out the back, she would be like, we've got to figure out a way to do this. I'm like, or you could just tell them no. She's like, no, they come to me because I'm going to tell them yes. I'm like, yes isn't always the answer.
She wasn't charging for a yes answer either.
Exactly. I'm like, basically rented a week's worth of time in my shop. And I'm like, I know you're not charging this guy what you're having to pay me to help you with this project.
Well, no, not even close. I mean,
we ended up driving her to Dallas to different leather suppliers so she could see other stuff and all kinds of stuff.
And then sending pictures all the time.
Yeah, like everything she did. She's like, oh, let me get with my customer and give them a choice on them. Or you could just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, and yeah, it's like the more choices you give them, the more you're setting yourself up for serious failure in the end. So
yeah.
And I think that definitely you have to learn eventually to say no. And that's especially when you're starting out, it's really hard to tell people no.
It is. I mean, you want to please people, you want them to give you a good review, you want them to tell their friends. But honestly, like the worse it gets, then the crazier the order ends up being and everything, the least you're actually, honestly, the ones that really scared me are the ones that came in and were like, I want it exactly this way and exactly that way. And I'm like, I mean, let's manage expectations.
Yeah.
We're talking about a handmade item here. So yeah. Danged if you do, danged if you don't.
Yeah. That is, it's a, I mean, and obviously, I would say almost everybody, this is how we start,
Yeah.
is with custom work.
Oh yeah,
It's
for sure.
definitely a part of the beginning of everybody's story. But Bill, this is a really good question. He wants to know how you got to the point in your leather work that you became confident enough in your work. So you started putting yourself out there and then charging what you were actually worth.
To be real honest, I want to be 100% honest and clear. While I was doing custom work, I was not charging what I should have been.
Yeah.
You're still not. Like if you did something today,
I still wouldn't. It is the hardest part for me to, take that big prideful leap and be like, this is a $1,500 item. Like,
yeah.
And, and part of it is just like, man, I just, would I pay $1,500 for this? And well, maybe the answer is yes, maybe the answer is no. It depends on what it is. But as far as putting yourself out there, I kind of got thrown into the mix. I was making stuff for a lot of my Army buddies, my biker buddies, stuff like that. And like I said, a lot of holsters, a lot of in the Army, everybody carries this little green book around. It's just a hardcover book, and everybody writes their notes in it. And I used to make a lot of leather covers for those. So you get your unit crest on the cover and your rank and your name. And, I'd make a ton of things like that. And I was very confident in that because every military member that saw that would want another one, and they'd want one like so-and-so's. But one day I made a pair of holsters. There were 1911 holsters. I had twin 1911s. So I made them matching holsters, a left and a right. And each of them had like a half of a skull on it. And when you put them together, it would make the whole skull. But I mean, they weren't meant to be together by any means. Anyway, I posted them. I was in the Kansas City area, and there was a Facebook group called the Man Cave Swap and Shop. Now, this is back when you could trade guns on Facebook, all kinds of crazy stuff on Facebook. And, I mean, if you put baby items or used clothing, unless they were like hunter clothing, you'd get kicked off the group. Like this place is for 4-wheelers and trucks and firearms and stuff
Manly
like that.
stuff.
Man cave stuff. So I threw those holsters up there one night, and like overnight, my business Facebook was just Heizer Custom Leather, and it went from having a couple of hundred followers to having a few thousand. I mean, literally overnight. That group had 15, 20,000 people in it at the time. And I mean, just like all of a sudden, I struck a positive nerve with all of them, and they were all, I mean, just my inbox blew up. I had way more work because I was still in the Army. So I had more people inquiring than I could ever try to take on. So anyway, so yeah, I kind of got forced into being put out there. It grew a lot faster and a lot luckier than I ever thought it would. But honestly, after getting over the initial shock of it, it brought the confidence. Like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm up to this new standard that I've set for myself. And
one time you said it was just because they can't afford it doesn't mean that's your customer. Like you've got to make money. You've got to price it and make money. And if they can't afford it, that's not your customer.
I had a phone call just today from a guy while we were at the convention. He called and asked if I had a minute. And I said, well, I got a real quick minute, but I got one. But he was just doing some laser engraving on leather and some basic sewing. And he was making these really neat bookmarks. He sent me pictures of it. He's like, I've got a customer that wants like a couple of hundred of them. And I know he can't afford, what I would want to charge for them. So, but I want to make them for him. And I'm like, well, look, dude, if you're cheapening yourself to the point that you're not making any money, then what are you doing it for? I mean, at that point, just tell them what the materials cost and make them for them if that's what you're wanting to do. But you've got to have a standard for yourself. And, I mean, even at makers, people will come in and, well, how much is this piece of Herman oak leather? Oh, well, it's so-and-so price. I'll give you this much. I'm like, I'm sorry, is this a garage sale? Like, do you do that at the grocery store with your eggs? Like,
well, they might have.
Maybe they do. I don't know.
One broken here.
So anyway, so yeah, as far as having your price, like, don't cheapen yourself for anybody. If they're not the right customer, then they're not. So yeah.
That's hard. That is hard to come to terms with, because it is still money.
Yeah.
And
It's
you're getting
money.
rejected.
It's hard.
Somebody's going to
Yeah.
reject your price and you're getting rejected. It's
Yeah.
not your product.
Yeah.
And
Your product's great, but they can't
yeah,
afford it.
I mean, one, you want to feed your family. Obviously, that'll take priority.
Yeah.
But yeah, two, I mean, everybody knows how hard it is to even have a dollar right now. The economy is not much better now than it was a couple of years ago, and who knows where it's going tomorrow. And I mean, it's harder than ever to talk people into buying something that they don't necessarily need, like the belts and the wallets and things like that. That'll always have a good market. But the extravagantly tooled items and things, the where you get into the higher level, the higher pricing, the more hours it takes you to make,
Yeah.
like it's really hard to talk somebody into buying something.
Yeah.
So again, you've got to have what it boils down to. You've got to put yourself in front of the right market.
Yeah.
The little corner farmers market that happens every weekend is probably not the best market for you to make $500 bags for.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have one.
It is the right market for you to make the little fold up wallets that just take a couple of minutes to make, and you can sell them for 10 or 15 bucks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes even just figuring out who your target market is. I mean, sometimes that happens a bit organically. Sometimes you don't really know. And then you're like, oh, it's these people.
Right.
And it's funny you said when Clay Miller and I worked together, he was still doing custom work while he was making tools, and I was doing custom work while I was trying to really do something with Maker's Leather Supply. And we had these big glass windows in the front of the shop. And when somebody got out of their truck and they like straightened their cowboy hat, and they had on their nice boots and all that, I'd look at Clay and be like, this is your guy. But when somebody pulled up and like put the kickstand down on their Harley and was walking in, I'm like, my guy.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of just know.
Yeah, exactly. But the same goes for just level of customers. I mean, there's for lack of a better word, levels to it, and I mean, your target audience has to be the people that can afford the work you want to make.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. What has helped you the most in improving your tooling?
Practice. A lot of it. Studying other people's tooling. There was a time when I was going to Jim Linnell's place about once a month and doing, whether it's a class he's giving or something like that. Like I'm not a big floral tooler. And I mean, like I could tool you a flower right now and most people be like, man, that looks pretty good. But then some people that are, at the higher level of tooling will be like, well, let's talk about this.
Well, this one time.
And that's fine with me. I don't enjoy doing floral tooling. I just don't. I don't mean any disrespect to it, but it bores me. To do a notebook that's just covered in the same flower over and over, like I just
yeah.
Like I'd rather tool a cool picture. I love tooling cartoons and things like that. Just those are the kinds of things I really enjoy tooling. And maybe it's because they're easier. I don't know. Maybe it's because I know how to use my bevelers and shaders better than I know how to floral tool. I don't know. But it's what I really enjoy. But learning different aspects of tooling, learning to use different tools in different ways, and getting out of your comfort zone. I mean, pick up a scrap and tool something you'd never think you could tool. And the worst you can do is have to throw that scrap away. It was a scrap. And, don't try something new on some fancy notebook that you're trying to sell to somebody, but practice and expand your horizons with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think tooling, just because we've had so many artisans in the filming studio at Learn with a Loom, and this is something that comes up, but I think it's definitely like anything that you want to get good at, you have to put intentional time and effort to it, almost on the daily. If you really want to be an exceptional tooler, like create yourself a little workout routine per se, where I'm going to practice my swivel knife finesse for 5 minutes every day. If I sit down at my bench, the first thing I do is practice my swivel knife cuts or practice beveling.
And that goes into this is another reason maybe I don't enjoy floral tooling as much. I can't draw. Okay. There is no way for me to describe the level of shame that makes me feel that I can tool just about anything you put in front of me, but I cannot draw my own like floral patterns.
Well, you can't be great at everything, honey.
And it's simply, I never started to draw, and like I always make the joke now that like, well, it's too late for me to start drawing because I've been tooling for so long and I tool pretty good. And like if I was to draw my own patterns, then it would be like regression in my art. But my other joke is, well, I've got Don Gonzalez as a phone call away. Like if I need a tooling pattern to fit something, I just call him and be like, hey buddy. But that's honestly like, that's one of my biggest things I tell people is start learning to draw. Sit there with your pen and sketchbook every day and draw something. I mean, it doesn't have to be floral patterns. I mean, just draw something. And I wish that I had the time and the discipline myself to sit down and do it. Janie can attest to the 10 years we've been together. I bet she's seen me start to learn to draw 5, 6, 7 times. Yeah. And I mean, I've got all the, how-to books and everything else. And I'll do it for a few days, few weeks, maybe. And then,
we talked before about floral because with the floral, it all like has to flow this way. It's like there's rules to it.
There are rules,
and you've got to stick to those rules. Where like your cartoons and your other stuff, they're however you imagine it. There's no rules there.
I mean, one of the most challenging things I've ever done, if you've ever seen the Herman Oak mural, they sent out to, basically it's one of their giant casks that they have in their tannery. Well, they sent out all the leather pieces to make a giant one of these that you could hang on the wall. And they selected leather artists from all over the world that they wanted to tool something on one of these pieces and then send it back to them.
Right?
And you can tool anything you wanted on them, but then send them all. Chris Andre is the one that was responsible for putting it all together, and he did a beautiful job putting them all together and stuff. And I mean, they called me and I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, that's going to be so cool. And I can't believe y'all asked me to be a part of it. Let's do this. They're like, well, you'll have a main part and then you'll have like a little part, just a filler somewhere else. And they send me my 2 pieces. And then they said, it's like a map of where it's going to go. And one of my pieces looked like the state of Oklahoma if the panhandle was like 3 times longer. And I'm just like, without knowing how to do floral drawing, I'm like, how do I fill this weird shape with tooling?
The best way.
And then I looked at the map and it hangs like lengthwise, like the panhandle goes down and then it gets wide going up. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do, So I called Todd Salesman. He was the tannery the GM of the tannery at the time. And I was like, hey buddy, you said I could tool anything I want on this, right? And he was like, yeah, I mean, keep it clean. I was like, well, okay, I mean, obviously, but anyway, so I thought on it and I went through 1,000 things in my head, and finally I figured out what I wanted to do. And I tooled Donkey Kong. And Donkey Kong was standing up on the big wide part, and he had a barrel that he was throwing. The princess was up above him because she's like, help me. And then Mario is climbing up the ladder, which is that narrow part at the bottom. And there's barrels coming down at him and stuff like that. And like,
it's perfect.
I was so excited that I thought of something that I could do, and it was really funny because somebody not long ago took a picture of that at the tannery and said, oh my gosh, the second I glanced at it, I knew exactly which part Aaron tooled. Because of course the rest of it, I mean, some of the world's greatest toolers got to put in on this, and then me too. And I mean, just some of the most amazing floral carved pieces and stuff you've ever seen. Like Bob Beard did a section. Annie Libertini did a portrait of Shep Herman on her piece. And I'm like, yeah, thanks for making us feel bad. But and then my little filler piece was part of the like metal ring that goes around the barrel. And it was just a little piece about yay big. And I did the Hulk's eyes on like just a strip where it just looks like some angry eyes looking at you. But anyway, like I said, that was a really hard project for me to decide on, because if you don't draw your own patterns, how are you going to find something that fits what you need it to fit?
But find something fun.
Yeah, but luckily, okay, I can find Donkey Kong and make him the size I want. I can find the Mario character I want, and actually, I think I drew Mario because it was just his back anyway, so that was pretty easy. And yeah, and then the ladder and the barrels, I just drew them. That wasn't too bad, but anyway.
You know what I love about that story is that you just fully embraced who you are.
Yeah.
Or
do you know what
I'm
like? Well, but I think that's important. I think sometimes we always think we have to be like Don, be like Matt, be like Phil and Aaron. I mean, but you don't. That's what makes you uniquely you.
Exactly.
And that's why people, it's why we can all do our own thing and still be successful. Okay. We have another question. Michael.
While we're still talking about that, Misty, I just want to tease something that's coming. I was just working on it today. Is we did some drawing practice and some swivel knife practice that's built in kind of the 20-minute exercise routine that will be on the platform. And we did that with Sarah Garvey here not too long ago. So
I think
I look forward to seeing that then.
Yeah, well, and
I'll post progress pictures.
You should.
Yeah. No, it's I think it'll help people out. So if that's something you guys are looking for, keep an eye out.
Yeah, that's great. That's
sweet.
Amazing. And we all, I mean, if any of you know Sarah, Western Skies Handmade,
she is hilarious though.
And she's incredibly talented tooler.
And I like it.
Yeah. Okay, Michael, how did the progression from being a custom maker to becoming a supplier happen? And then we have question 2, but answer that one first.
The little Korean guy. That was it. I went home and I told Janie, I was like, I'm tired of this. Like, I want to go get a job or something. And I'd already started doing some teaching, and I already had Maker's Leather Supply, but I'd never even thought about expanding it. Like, we sold a little bit of paint, a little bit of dye, and a little bit of Wicked Craig leather, and that was it. We had some like odd lot stuff.
Yeah.
And mostly, yes, we had the website, sold a lot of blue guns. That was what we were known for, is the holster molds. But I'd never dreamed of going the supply route. And it was Janie that came up with the idea. And she was like, well, you've got this other thing and you kind of seem to enjoy the teaching, even though I hadn't done much of it at that point. She's like, why not give that a go? And if we have to revert back to custom leather work to keep the lights on, then we just will, you know? And to be really honest, I think I've only done 2 custom jobs since that day.
And that's not for the money. He did it because he wanted to.
I did it. Well, like, one was our accountant and it was almost tax time. So, yep, you get what you want. So, but yeah. And then another one was your niece. Yeah. The other one was your niece.
Yep. He made a really beautiful wallet for my nephew.
Yeah. I was on the phone at my job when that guy came in to pick that up. And Aaron got back on the phone and I said, well, we'll talk when I get home.
Yeah.
Because I could tell, like,
I was furious.
He was done. And that was just like the nail on the head.
I was ready to put the paint on somebody that day.
Yeah. And I was like, well, we got to do something. What do you want to do? You can't do both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, the transition was not difficult. I did need some capital. Janie at that time worked for a different company, and the fellow that she worked for was a very nice man. He hadn't gone anywhere. We just don't work. She just doesn't work there anymore. Anyway, and he and I sat down to lunch one day because I needed a loan, and I don't know how to go to a bank and say I have a business plan and all that, because I didn't have a business plan. I just needed a way to get some supplies that I could sell. And it was really funny because he and I were talking at lunch, and I know that him and Janie had probably already had a conversation before he even agreed to eat lunch with me, and it was real funny because I could tell that he was very hesitant because, like I said, I didn't have a real plan, and he is an actual investor. I mean, he wants to see a plan. But then at the end of the meal, he was like, well, just curious. I mean, how much are you looking for? I was like, man, I need like $15,000. And I think he laughed a little. Like, I may have that in my truck. Give me a minute, you know?
He laughed a little.
So anyway, and then at that point, yeah, he had no problem just being like, here you go, buddy. You just pay me back when you can, you know?
But
but that did it.
Before you went, he was like, am I going to loan you money? And I was like, I need you to. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm assuming that, you know, once that happened, I mean, I had very small dreams. I had very small goals.
Our first laser.
I had extremely small expectations. And anyway, and yeah, so I really should ask for more.
But you remember the big thing that turned the whole focal on Maker's Leather Supply was the website.
Yeah.
The website.
So when we did that, that's when we started looking at a new website. We used to use a company called Miva Merchant for our website. And like, no joke, user level, you couldn't do anything on that website. You couldn't change a product. You couldn't change a picture. You couldn't add a product, you know, and it was very, very difficult. And honestly, I didn't even know that it could be easier. I just thought, okay, well, this is computer stuff and I don't understand computer stuff, you know? And anyway, so when we were like, okay, we're going to do something with this business, we ordered a bunch of inventory. I bought a trailer because back then when we went to a show, it would fit in the back of a pickup truck with Clay Miller's stuff. So like 2 booths were fitting in one truck and our luggage. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, we changed the website and we got on Shopify, which is now the world's like leading
yeah, but this is when they first started.
Yeah, I mean, not many people had heard of Shopify back then. So we kind of got in on the ground floor of that. But once I had a website that looked attractive and was easier to use for customers and for me, and stuff like that, and things just got simplified. And then at the same time, we were moving up to the Waco area where the shop has been for the last 7 or 8 years. Anyway, all that just kind of happened within a couple of months of each other. And we went from I'd get 2 to 3 orders a week to I'd get 3 to 4 orders a day.
That first night, you remember when it started going ding, ding. And I look at it, I said, Aaron, what is that? And Aaron's like, oh, it's a notification. We sold time. And it's ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
and I mean, I think we cried. I think
we just sat there and stared at the phone. And Shopify, if you have the app on your phone, it'll give you a little notification. And it sounds like an old cash register opening. It went cha-ching. And yeah, and you could look at it and they're like, oh my gosh, right now there's 15 people looking at my website. You know, like that had never happened before. I mean, if there were 15, then 13 of them were in Tajikistan and 3 more of them were somewhere, you know.
So I think to answer the question, a lot of things happened.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we made the decision to do it. And
we stuck to it.
We went all in on it. I mean, had that failed, the good news is I was retired from the Army. And I knew that, and at the time I lived real small. I could afford my truck payment and my apartment and whatever else just out of that retirement. And Janie had a separate job. And so we could afford to live if the website failed and if Makers failed. I mean, back then, every penny that Makers made just got turned back into Makers. And that's how we grew inventory and stuff. So it was easy to make the leap when you knew you would still have a meal at the end of the day. You know, I totally understand people that are having to quit their full-time job to follow their dreams. Like it's scary.
That's scary.
And I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. But I was fortunate enough that I hung into the Army long enough that they retired me. And so I didn't have to do that. Yeah. So, yeah.
You kind of answered that part too. Was the transformation progressive or did it happen quickly? I think you just answered but maybe talk about the timeline.
It still was, you know, and it was, as Jim Linnell, like I said, in the early days, he was a pretty good mentor in a lot of things. He still worked for Tandy, so he couldn't tell me too much, but he did kind of let me know that, hey, you know, you are growing, but don't grow too fast. He's like, if you can't manage it, then what good is it?
And then we had one that said, if you ain't growing, you're dying.
Yeah. So we went to Springfield Leather and spent a day with Rusty Darnell and Kevin and Rusty's wife, Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
And we had lunch together and we spent all day at their store. They let me buy some tools and stuff that you know, heavily discounted rates so that I could have some things like that to sell in my store because I wasn't about to start importing and other things I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And it was Kevin Kevin of Springfield said, well, Aaron, are you paying yourself? And I just laughed. And then he laughed. He's like, I already knew the answer. He said, I knew you weren't. He said, but you got to think about this. He said, you know, if something happened to you and you got sick, are you prepared to start writing someone else a paycheck to do your job? He said, because if you're not used to writing that paycheck, then you're going to fail on that day. Like your business will fail because you're not there to run it and no one else is going to run it for peanuts. And he's very right. And he, you know, and it was still, I mean, I started paying myself a very small amount. That was when we quit eating ramen and started eating hamburgers. That was kind of nice.
Well, then that's about the time Marcia and Chris got married and we got this, you know, they had the processing.
It was still a lot earlier than that.
You think so?
Yeah. We're talking 2016, 17. Yeah. So anyway, but the other thing that Kevin said to me is, if you're not growing, you're dying. He said, there's no taking a knee. There's no taking a break. It is constantly, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I've seen it, because there are times when I'm like, let's just hold what we've got for a minute, guys. Let's breathe. Let's drink some water. And yeah. And all of a sudden you see it in the numbers. Like the orders are down. The YouTube numbers are down. The Facebook, you know, comments are down. And it's like, holy crap, guys, I just took a nap. I'll be back. You know,
relentless. Jeez.
And honestly, those were two pieces of advice that I took really heavily from Kevin, and I really appreciate that he gave them to me, and I'm more than happy to share those with other people, because I those two, and then my other, and it's not from them, but my other thing that I've always, every morning, even today, I wake up and I'm like, I am 2 bad decisions away from ruining it all.
Yeah, that's great advice in the morning.
It's the first thing it's the first.
That's why you don't get up. That's why you get up at 4 o'clock every morning.
Exactly. First mistake: stay in bed late. So, so anyway, I just, you know, you can recover from one ugly mistake. You can recover from a bad decision or whatever. But if you make 2 of them in a row, it's risky.
Well, and then we had COVID hit right when we moved to Elmont. We were here maybe. How long were we in Elmont before COVID hit?
Almost 4 years.
Really?
Where have you been?
I had a stroke.
You hadn't even had a stroke at that point.
But I've had one since then. I think I'm only like 2 years in.
So anyway.
But we had to weather that.
All right, what's next?
Well, we are at about time. Does anybody have, I know that flew right by, right?
I talked too much. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did.
This is all about you, Aaron. You too, Jamie.
You anything, but only 3 people got to ask us.
I should have asked yes or no questions.
We still would have got a huge answer.
Okay, one more.
Let's hear it. I'll make it.
Last one, best one.
Let's do it.
What's the best tool that you own?
Me.
You're such a tool. Probably
Matt, why aren't you here doing flooring?
Oh yeah, that's your job, Matt. Call me when you need some directions. Put that over there. So by the way, everybody else that's watching this, they are literally painting and putting in flooring and getting ready to move the store to its new location, while I'm sitting here tooling leather and impressing teachers with my knowledge.
We got to take Dad up there and let him meet Matt and them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes, we got to bring Dad.
So anyway, but probably my sewing machine. Like I am. That's kind of my niche that's kind of my niche in the leatherworking world. I love my Cobra Class 18 sewing machine. And don't get me wrong, I couldn't use it if I didn't also have an NP4 Skyver.
But I think they meant like tooling tool.
Oh, but but that's not your thing.
Well, but I mean, with tooling, bevelers, good bevelers. Everybody always asks me, you know, like, oh, I want to upgrade to like Barry King tools. What do I upgrade first? Bevelers. You're going to use them on every single project. You may not always use a veiner. You may not always use a pear shader. You may not always use a bar grounder. You're going to use bevelers.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Obviously, if you haven't heard, Maker's Leather Supply is moving, as
Yes.
Aaron alluded to. And so if you're going to be in town for the Waco show, you better come by and see the new space because it's
Yes.
215
amazing.
Cotton Street.
Yep.
215 Cotton Street.
And that's in Waco proper. Like the old store was in Elmont, which is just a suburb of Waco. That's where the Wacoans get their finest meth. But anyway, we'll be in Waco proper now. So yeah, that's
We're
215
right off
Cotton,
Highway 6.
Cotton Street in actual Waco.
Yep. Yep. So come.
And for all you by the Richland Mall, think Richland Mall, you're in the area.
Yep. Yep. Matt said amen to that on the Beveler.
Yep.
He'd say also a great swivel knife.
That's true.
Yep. So, well, I'm going to hop back on the couch so you can see
I'm
me.
going to let y'all. No, go ahead. You can get on the couch.
I'm going to hop back on this
Switches.
giant couch. I can't touch the floor, but thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We are going to try and do some of this type of event where we have, one of our instructors on to answer questions, and it's just kind of a free-for-all. We may try some demonstrations as well. So if you have some ideas or want us to do something that maybe you think is valuable, because we're just doing what we think you think would be valuable. So tell us what you really want and we'll make it happen. So tell us in the community.
Help
just type
me
it on
help
it.
you.
Exactly. Help me help
Let's
you.
build the couch together.
Exactly.
Get one of those
Exactly.
round
Exactly. Okay. Thanks so much. Have a good night. We will see you on the next one.
What did